Beamy Liam, 28 years old, working as a data analyst for a mid-sized marketing firm. The job is pretty decent. The pay is good, the work is challenging enough to not be boring, and my coworkers are mostly cool. Our department was a well-oiled machine, largely thanks to our old boss, Robert. Robert was a no-nonsense, fair-minded guy in his late 50s. He had been with the company forever and knew the ins and outs of everything. His philosophy was simple: get your work done, do it well, and he would stay out of your hair. He treated everyone exactly the same, which we all appreciated. Your performance was what mattered, not your background, your gender, or anything else. Then one day, Robert announced his retirement. He was moving to a quiet town by the coast to go fishing and spend time with his grandkids. We were all happy for him, but also a little nervous about who would replace him. Corporate sent out an email a week later introducing our new department head, Amelia. Her profile picture was of a woman in her mid-30s with a very bright, eager smile. Her bio was filled with corporate buzzwords: synergy, disruption, paradigm shift, and a whole lot about fostering an inclusive and forward-thinking workspace. On her first day, she called a team meeting. She walked in with a lot of energy, holding a branded metal water bottle and wearing a blazer over a t-shirt that said "The future is female." Okay, a little on the nose, but whatever. I was willing to give her a chance. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "I am so incredibly excited to be here and to lead this amazing team. I've heard wonderful things about all of you." She went on to talk about her vision for the department. More collaboration, more creative thinking, and a focus on emotional wellness in the workplace. "I believe that a happy team is a productive team," she said, beaming at us. "And I want to make sure that everyone here feels seen, heard, and supported, especially our female employees who have historically faced unique and systemic challenges in the corporate world." A few of the women on the team, like Chloe and Jessica, nodded enthusiastically. The guys and I just kind of sat there listening. It sounded fine in theory. Who doesn't want to feel supported? The first week was mostly just Amelia observing our workflow and having one-on-one meetings with everyone. My meeting with her was interesting. She asked a lot of questions about my feelings about the workplace culture, if I felt there was a toxic masculine energy under Robert's leadership. I was honest. I told her that Robert was the fairest boss I'd ever had and that I felt the team dynamic was great. She just smiled and nodded, writing things down in her notebook. "I appreciate your perspective, Liam," she said, in a tone that made me feel like she didn't appreciate it at all. Then came the second week, and with it, the first new unofficial policy. Amelia called all the female employees into the conference room for a women in the workplace luncheon she had organized. The guys and I were left to hold down the fort. We didn't think much of it. Company-sponsored lunch, cool for them. They came back an hour later, all looking very pleased. Later that day, I was grabbing a coffee in the kitchen with one of my work friends, David. Chloe walked in, grabbed a snack from the fridge, and sighed dramatically. "Long day," she said to no one in particular. "It's only 2 in the afternoon," David said with a slight chuckle. Chloe gave him a cool look. "Amelia understands that the patriarchal structure of the modern workplace can be incredibly draining. She said we should take wellness breaks whenever we need to recenter ourselves." And with that, she grabbed her phone and walked out to the little patio area outside our office building. She was out there for a solid 20 minutes scrolling through Instagram. David and I exchanged a look. "Wellness break," he whispered. "What is that?" "Beats me," I said. It soon became clear this was the new thing. Amelia had told the women on our team that they were encouraged to take extra, unscheduled breaks whenever they felt stressed, overwhelmed, or just needed a minute. At first, it was minor. A woman might disappear for 10 minutes and come back looking a little more relaxed. No big deal. We all take a few minutes to clear our heads now and then, but then the 10 minutes started turning into 20. The 20 minutes turned into 30. Chloe was the main offender. She would announce that she was feeling a profound sense of systemic fatigue and would go for a wellness walk that somehow always included a trip to the coffee shop down the street. Jessica would claim she needed to meditate away the male gaze and would sit in her car for half an hour listening to a podcast. The workload, which had always been perfectly balanced by Robert, started to shift. When a deadline was approaching, it was me, David, and the other two guys on our team, Mark and Ben, who were staying late to get things done. Because Chloe and Jessica were recentering their energy or whatever. It was subtle at first. A small task here, a little extra data entry there, but it started adding up. We started talking about it amongst ourselves during our own strictly timed 15-minute breaks. This is getting ridiculous, David said one afternoon after we had to finish a report because Chloe had taken 3 wellness breaks that day, totaling almost an hour and a half. I know, I said, but what are we supposed to do? If we complain, she's just going to call us sexist. But it is sexist, Mark chimed in. It's literally a policy that only applies to one gender. That's the definition of sexism. He's right, Ben added. Robert would have never let this fly. Work is work. Your personal feelings don't mean you get to just check out and let everyone else pick up your slack. We grumbled about it for a few more weeks. The resentment was slowly building. The quality of work from the frequent wellness breakers was starting to slip too. Mistakes were being made, and Amelia would just say things like, "Let's support Chloe through this. She's dealing with a lot of external pressures." What pressures? We were all dealing with life. I had an elderly parent to look after. David had a new baby at home that was barely sleeping. Mark was taking night classes. Ben was dealing with a tough breakup. But apparently only the female version of stress warranted a break. The tipping point came on a Thursday. We had a massive project due on Friday. It was all hands on deck. We were all stressed. Around noon, David got an urgent call from his wife. The baby was sick and had a high fever. She needed him to come home. He went to Amelia's office to explain the situation. I could hear her response from my desk. David, I understand that family emergencies happen, she said in a strained, professional voice. But this project is critical. Is there any way your wife can handle it? We really need you here. David, to his credit, stood his ground. My child is sick, Amelia. I have to go. I'll log on from home tonight and finish my part. She sighed, a long put-upon sigh. Fine, but I expect you to be fully available online later. He left, looking stressed and angry. Not even an hour later, Chloe stood up from her desk and stretched. Wow, she announced loudly. The energy in here is so stressful today. My chakras are completely out of alignment. I need a break. She walked over to Amelia's office. The door was open. Amelia, I'm feeling really overwhelmed by the deadline pressure. I'm going to take a little wellness break to go get a smoothie and clear my head, she said. Amelia's response was immediate and completely different from how she had treated David. Of course, Chloe, you do that. Your well-being is the top priority. Don't you worry about a thing. The guys can handle it while you're gone. Take as much time as you need. Chloe shot a smug little smile in our direction as she walked out. That was it. That was the moment something snapped for all of us. We looked at each other, Mark, Ben, and me. The silence was heavy with what we were all thinking. The guys can handle it, Mark repeated under his breath, his knuckles white as he gripped his mouse. I took a deep breath. I'm not a confrontational person. I usually just keep my head down and do my work. But this was so blatantly unfair, so hypocritical, that I couldn't ignore it anymore. Later that evening, David, Mark, Ben, and I had a group chat going. David was furious. I can't believe she said that to me about my sick kid and then just let Chloe walk out for a damn smoothie, Ben wrote. We have to do something. This isn't sustainable. We're being taken advantage of. Mark suggested going to human resources. I thought about it. They'll just see it as 4 guys complaining about their female boss. It could backfire on us. Amelia is an expert at using corporate jargon. She'll twist it to make us look like the bad guys, like we're trying to create a hostile work environment for women. So what do we do? David asked. Just sit here and take it. And that's when an idea started to form in my mind. It was simple, it was direct, and it used Amelia's own logic against her. We don't complain, I typed. We comply. What do you mean? Mark asked. Her policy is about employees taking breaks when they feel overwhelmed and stressed, I explained. She never explicitly said it was only for women, even if that's her clear intention. She just said she wanted to support employees, especially women. I continued, so tomorrow we're all going to be feeling very overwhelmed. There was a pause in the chat, then a message from David. I love it, Ben and Mark quickly agreed. The plan was set. We weren't going to be dramatic about it. We were going to use her exact language and be completely professional. The next morning, we came into work as usual. It was the day the big project was due. The pressure was on. Amelia was walking around looking stressed, which was ironic. Around 9:30, I stood up from my desk. I walked calmly to Amelia's office. I knocked on the open door. Amelia, do you have a second? I asked. Is it about the project, Liam? We're on a tight deadline, she said, not looking up from her computer. It is in a way, I said, keeping my voice steady and professional. I'm feeling quite overwhelmed by the pressure of this deadline. I need to take a short wellness break to recenter myself so I can come back and be more productive. She finally looked up at me. Her smile was gone. Her eyes narrowed slightly. She was completely thrown off. I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to process what was happening. You're feeling overwhelmed, she asked, as if the concept of a male employee feeling stress was a foreign language. Yes, I said calmly, very. The stress is impacting my ability to focus. I just need to step away for a little bit. She was cornered. How could she say no? It was her signature policy. She had just let Chloe do the exact same thing for the exact same reason yesterday. Denying me would be an explicit admission that the policy was, in fact, gender-based. She took a deep breath. Okay, Liam, she said through gritted teeth. Take your break, but please be back soon. We need all hands on deck. Of course, I said. My well-being is the top priority after all. I walked back to my desk, picked up my keys, and walked out of the office. I didn't go get a smoothie. I just went to my car, sat there, and listened to the radio for 20 minutes. When I walked back in, Mark was standing up. Where are you going, Mark? Amelia asked, her voice already sharp. I'm just feeling a profound sense of systemic fatigue, Amelia, Mark said deadpan, using Chloe's exact words from the other day. I need to take a wellness walk to clear my head. Amelia's face was a storm cloud. She looked from Mark to me, then over to Ben. She knew exactly what was happening. She opened her mouth to argue, but again she couldn't. She had created these rules. Fine, she snapped. Mark left. An hour later, as soon as Mark got back, Ben stood up. All this talk about deadlines is making my chakras feel out of alignment, he said with perfect sincerity. I think I need to go meditate for a bit. By this point, Amelia looked like she was about to have a full-blown meltdown. The project was due in a few hours, and half of her male workforce had decided to take impromptu half-hour breaks. The female employees were watching this unfold with a mixture of confusion and, in Chloe's case, indignation. What are they doing? I heard her whisper to Jessica. That's our thing. When Ben came back, David, who was working from home, sent an email to the whole team. Subject, wellness check-in. Hi Amelia, the stress of my sick child combined with the project deadline is proving to be quite overwhelming. Per your policy, I will be logging off for the next hour to focus on my emotional well-being and will resume my work after that. Thanks, David. That was the final straw. Amelia shot up from her desk. Liam, Mark, Ben, my office now. We filed in and stood in front of her desk. She was pacing back and forth, her face red with anger. What do you three think you're doing? She demanded. I took the lead. We're following your policy, Amelia. We felt overwhelmed and we took breaks to support our well-being. Don't play dumb with me, she seethed. You are deliberately sabotaging this project and making a mockery of a policy that was designed to help women in this office. Why should it only help women? Mark asked, his voice calm but firm. Do you think men don't experience stress or that we don't get overwhelmed? That's not the point, she insisted. The point is that women have historically been disadvantaged in the workplace, and this was a small way to try and level the playing field. You are co-opting a safe space for your own selfish games. It's not a game, Amelia, Ben said. It's about fairness. Yesterday you gave David a hard time for needing to go home to his sick baby, and then you praised Chloe for going to get a smoothie because she was stressed. What kind of message does that send? It sends the message that I am trying to support my female employees, she shot back, her voice rising. You're supporting them, but you're not supporting us, I said. You're the manager of the whole department, not just the women in it. When we have to stay late to finish their work while they're on their third wellness break of the day, that's not leveling the playing field. That's just transferring the workload and the stress onto us. She stared at us, momentarily speechless. It was clear she had never once considered our perspective. In her mind, she was the valiant champion of women. We were just the faceless, privileged male opposition. This is insubordination, she finally said, her voice shaking with rage. This is a coordinated attack. No, I said, this is a coordinated request for equal treatment. We're happy to work hard, we've always worked hard, but we expect the standards to be the same for everyone on the team, that's all. She just pointed to the door. Get out, all of you, and finish that project. We walked out of her office. The atmosphere in the department was ice cold. We sat down and got the project done. We submitted it with 10 minutes to spare, no thanks to the extended breaks. The following Monday was tense. Amelia sent out a department-wide email before we even got to work. Subject, update to department policy. Effective immediately, the informal wellness break policy is suspended. All breaks must adhere to the official 15-minute time frame as outlined in the company handbook. We need to refocus on productivity and meeting our collective goals. Thank you, Amelia. The fallout was immediate. Chloe was furious. I can't believe the guys ruined it for everyone, she complained, loud enough for us to hear. This is what happens when men feel challenged. They lash out and destroy a good thing. Jessica chimed in. She was just trying to help us, and they couldn't handle not being the center of attention for 5 minutes. The division in the office was now a giant chasm. The women who had been enjoying the extra breaks were openly hostile to us. The other women, who hadn't really taken advantage of the policy, just looked uncomfortable and tried to stay out of it. And Amelia's behavior toward us changed drastically. She became a micromanager, but only for us. She would walk by our desks constantly, checking to see if we were working. She timed our bathroom breaks. She scrutinized every single piece of our work, looking for the tiniest mistake to call us out on in team meetings. Meanwhile, she was still incredibly lenient with Chloe and the others. Their work was still sloppy, but she never said a word about it. Morale plummeted to an all-time low. The department that had been a well-oiled machine under Robert was now a toxic, miserable place to work. Nobody was collaborating. People were communicating almost exclusively through email to avoid talking to each other. The quality of our work as a whole was suffering. We missed another deadline, a smaller one this time, but it was a sign of how dysfunctional things had become. We were all miserable. I started looking for other jobs. I knew David and the others were too. I thought that was how it was going to end. The team would fall apart, we'd all quit, and Amelia would be left to manage her forward-thinking but completely unproductive department. But then something unexpected happened. Mr. Harrison, the vice president of our division and Amelia's boss, called me. Liam, this is Howard Harrison. Could you please come up to my office? And could you ask David, Mark, and Ben to join you? My stomach dropped. This was it. Amelia had gone to him and we were all getting fired. We walked up to the executive floor in silence. We were all thinking the same thing. We knocked on his door. Mr. Harrison was an older, distinguished-looking man, similar to Robert in his demeanor, calm, serious, and professional. Amelia was already sitting in his office. She refused to look at us. Gentlemen, please have a seat, Mr. Harrison said, gesturing to the chairs opposite his desk. Close the door. We sat down. The tension was so thick I could barely breathe. Mr. Harrison looked at Amelia, then at us. I've been reviewing the performance reports for your department, he began, his voice even. And frankly, they're abysmal. Productivity has dropped by 30% in the last 2 months. You've missed 2 deadlines. And I've received anonymous complaints through human resources about a hostile work environment. He folded his hands on his desk. Amelia has given me her version of events. She tells me that the 4 of you have been insubordinate and have created a difficult work environment for your female colleagues. Now I'd like to hear your version. My heart was pounding. This was our one shot. I took a breath and started from the beginning. I explained how things were under Robert fair and balanced. I explained Amelia's arrival and her new policies. I was factual and avoided emotional language. I talked about the wellness breaks and how they were offered exclusively to female employees. I explained how the workload shifted and how morale began to drop. I told him about the incident with David's sick child and how it contrasted with Chloe being allowed to leave for a smoothie moments later because she was stressed. And I explained our protest. I was honest about it. We didn't know what else to do, sir, I said. We felt that going to human resources would be seen as an attack, so we decided to highlight the inequality of the policy by simply participating in it. It was never our intention to sabotage the project. Our intention was to be treated equally. Mark, David, and Ben chimed in with their own experiences, backing up everything I said. They spoke about the micromanagement and the clear favoritism they had experienced. When we were done, Mr. Harrison was silent for a long time. He just looked from us to Amelia, who was staring at her hands in her lap. Finally, he spoke to her. Amelia, he said, his voice low and serious. Is what they're saying true? Did you offer a break policy to one gender and not the other? Amelia stammered. I was just trying to create an equitable, a supportive. That's not an answer. Mr. Harrison cut her off, his voice like steel. Did you do it, yes or no? Yes, she whispered. And did you give one employee a hard time for a legitimate family emergency and then allow another to leave for a trivial reason based on their gender? She didn't answer. She just shrank in her chair. Mr. Harrison sighed and looked at us. Gentlemen, while I don't condone handling internal disputes this way, human resources is there for a reason. I understand why you did what you did. You were put in an untenable and deeply unfair position. He then turned his full attention back to Amelia. Amelia, what you did was not just poor management, it was discriminatory. It created the very hostile and toxic environment you claimed you wanted to prevent. The goal of a manager is to support their entire team and to judge them based on their work and their character, not their gender. He continued, your job is to get the best out of everyone, not to run a social experiment based on your personal ideologies. You divided your team, you tanked their productivity, and you have failed in your primary duties as a leader. He told her she was being placed on a formal performance improvement plan. She would be required to attend a series of management training courses, and he would be personally overseeing her department for the next 6 months. And the first thing we are going to do, he said, looking at all of us, is implement a new official break policy. A flexible break policy available to all employees to be used for any reason, with the understanding that work responsibilities must still be met. Equality doesn't mean giving one group special privileges. It means giving everyone the same opportunities and holding them to the same standards. Amelia looked utterly defeated. Mr. Harrison dismissed us and we left his office. Walking back to our department, the four of us felt a huge sense of relief. It felt like a massive weight had been lifted. The next day, the new policy was announced to the whole company. Things in the office began to change slowly at first. Amelia was humbled. The firebrand performative activism was gone. She was quiet, reserved, and for the first time she just focused on the work. She started treating everyone the same. She still had her one-on-ones, but now she actually listened. She talked about project goals and performance metrics, not chakras and systemic fatigue. The training must have actually worked. Or maybe getting called out so thoroughly by her own boss was the wake-up call she needed. Chloe and a few others were pouty for a week or two, but when they realized the special treatment was well and truly over, they fell in line. Their work even started to improve now that they were actually at their desks. The tension in the office slowly dissipated. We started talking to each other again, the guys and the girls. We started collaborating on projects, helping each other out. The new flexible break policy was great. Everyone used it. Sometimes you just need 10 minutes to deal with a personal call or just to clear your head. And now everyone had that option without judgment. Our productivity shot back up, even higher than it was under Robert. It turns out that when you treat people like responsible adults and give them the same rules to play by, they tend to thrive. Amelia actually turned into a decent manager. She was never going to be Robert, but she became fair. She focused on our results and she supported us as a team, not as factions. One afternoon, months later, she actually came to my desk. "Liam," she said, her voice quiet, "I wanted to apologize to you and the other guys. You were right. I was unfair and I let my own biases get in the way of being a good manager. I'm sorry, it was genuine. I could see it in her eyes." "I appreciate that, Amelia," I said. "Thank you. Looking back on it all, it was a crazy few months. We didn't set out to be rebels. We were just four guys who wanted a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. We learned that true equality isn't about special treatment for anyone. It's about giving everyone the same respect and the same opportunities. Our department is stronger than ever now. We're a real team. And it all started because a boss tried to fix a problem that didn't exist and in the process created a real one. She thought she was a feminist boss fighting for the little guy. But she forgot that in a healthy workplace, everyone deserves to be treated with the same level of respect. Sometimes the fairest thing you can do is just treat everyone the same.